Welcome everyone to today's video. We are going to be talking about silver and the exciting news that has actually been going on. So let's talk about it. But first, I do want to mention, don't forget to like this video, guys and girls. It does help out this channel a lot and it makes me know to continue to make videos like this for you. So if we get 500 likes on this video, I will do another updated YouTube video on silver for tomorrow. But let's get into it and let's look at where silver is at as of right now. Silver is currently sitting at $49.16 USD. So it has been pretty good per ounce, but we have seen some very interesting movement as of lately. Now we have seen a strong resistance starting to show around these levels at around 49.15, and it has remained, you know, kind of a really big point for resistance. So we are waiting for that next leg up before moving on into the next, you know, sort of phase. But we have seen it hit this resistance line multiple times and has actually acted, you know, as a support and resistance in the past. But looking at these levels, we have seen it hit this multiple times, so we are expecting a breakthrough very soon. Now on top of that, we have also seen resistance, you know, for it around these levels and support. So, you know, we start to see that this area of around, you know, 49 to 46 is starting to be, as I like to call, the demand zone for silver. And, you know, obviously when we talk about silver, there is a lot more than just technical analysis. But from this perspective, we definitely do see that, you know, silver is in a pretty good place. Now, there is a lot to it in that sense because of, you know, a lot of the external factors that is going on that we will touch on just a little bit. But we are seeing it is starting to, you know, go out of some oversold sections, so we are starting to see a lot of momentum. So we are waiting for, you know, a resistance to break out before the next move up, and we could also see that around these levels of 52 being the next sort of resistance. But, you know, we are starting to see you know, kind of turnarounds and reversals in these movements, so it is kind of looking good in our favor as we continue on. So, you know, this was definitely going to be necessary. We saw a massive move up, you know, during these times. And we definitely saw a massive move up. When was this at? August 20th, 2025. So, you know, there's been a lot of movement as of lately, but we were expecting pullbacks, and the pullbacks did kind of, you know, are natural, and it also ended up in our favor. So looking at that, it is very good to see. Now I do also want to talk about this article that was released about silver, just quickly about, you know, from precious metals to critical, silver's new status could reshape its global supply chains. So silver prices continue to consolidate below $50 an ounce. However, there are growing bullish expectations as the precious metal has been officially added to the U.S. Geological Survey 2025 list of critical minerals. Although silver is a precious metal and recognized as an important monetary asset, more than 60% of its demand comes from industrial applications. Growing industrial demand is a primary factor behind silver's ongoing and significant supply deficit. So really interesting to see there, as we've mentioned, you know, when you actually look at silver, it is in a very good spot in a sense that there is a lot more demand coming through as of lately. You know, I do always say that silver and gold, although they are not the same, they do move, you know, in tandem with each other in a sense that, you know, if you know gold, you probably know about silver and vice versa. So, you know, silver is starting to get the recognition, I believe, on how, you know, it deserves to be treated due to the fact that it is such a great metal to invest in, a precious metal, all these different things. But now we are starting to see a lot more mainstream demand come through, which has definitely benefited greatly for the price of silver and also the demand for silver in general. Now we have here the silver market has also been fraught with volatility and uncertainty due to President Donald Trump's global tariffs and trade war. New York vaults were flooded with silver at the start of the year as market participants and bullion banks built up stockpiles in case the metal was tariffed. So, you know, interesting time for everything that is going on in an external factor of economy from America and all these different chains. But, you know, looking at silver as a whole, it is starting to get, as I've mentioned, the recognition it deserves, and we really only see it going one way, which is up. So, you know, I think that's really good to see there. Now we had this silver futures just surged to 49.07. Want to beat the market. I think that's really important to show. So 49.073, very good time for silver, as we've mentioned and as we've shown from the technical analysis. But let's get through some of this. So we saw here gold plus silver lead all major assets since Trump's re-election, up 50% and 53% in a year, outperforming stocks BTC and Nvidia. in their strongest post-election rally in decades. So very, very interesting to see. We see the S&P 500 up 14%, see gold up 49%, Bitcoin's up 37%, which is great, but you also see Nvidia Corp 32% in that sort of time span. So we definitely have seen gold be a big factor, but silver is definitely behind it as well, and really charging very, very good. And as we mentioned just earlier, gold and silver, although not the same, and I know a lot of people that do invest in gold, they're not into silver and vice versa, I do believe they both have the same sort of demand, in a sense that a lot of people that buy gold usually do get into silver eventually for that cheaper sort of price range. But I think it is really interesting to see where gold can go in the future for sure. Now we have this: every ounce of silver you hold is an ounce a system can't fake. That's why they hate it. That's why you should own it. And I completely agree. I do believe that when it comes to the system, we start to see inflation numbers start to go really, really berserk as of lately. And this is where something like silver, like gold, do come into play and start to become much more of a bigger and higher demanding asset due to the inflation risks and the inflation sort of worries that are hitting the markets as of lately. So for that reason, we definitely see this working out in our favor coming into this next sort of time period, or this next sort of era, where I do believe precious metals such as silver will definitely have a bigger spot in the limelight than we were compared to from before. So I think that's really interesting to see there. Now we also had this post: scrap my call of $60 silver, as we're headed to 100 to 200 in the next couple of quarters. So very, very good to see when it comes to actually the price of silver, as we have seen some pretty good movement. Now when we actually look at this person, I would say we do actually see his analysis on it. 1st Jan 2025 reassert north of $30 trigger. 1st of July 2022 we saw some support zones kind of being hit. We have the silver XAG trigger as well on the 1st of Jan 2024. So we have seen some really great movement, which I think is fantastic to see, and it can definitely be in a really, really good spot. As I do believe when it comes to, silver, we are just getting started with what is actually going on, which I think is fantastic from there. So definitely a lot in the books for sure. Now, looking at this, we also do know that, if every American just spent half of their $2,000 check on physical silver, that would be a whopping 5.21 billion ounces of silver. Annual supply from the mines are only 850 million ounces. There's simply not enough critical silver. So the reason why this comes into question was this post by Donald Trump, who said, people that are against tariffs are fools. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world with almost no inflation and a record stock market. 401ks are highest ever. We are taking in trillions of dollars and will soon begin paying down our enormous debt. 37 trillion record investment in the USA, plants and factories going up all over the place. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high income people, will be paid to everyone. And the reason why this is somewhat smart or saying, in a sense of that, imagine people starts paying this paychecks on physical silver, is because when something similar to this, the stimulus checks, did actually come through, we saw a lot of people investing that money, whether it was in stocks at the time, but as gold, silver are starting to become more into the talks of great investments, I do believe there will be a handful of people that will start to get into, the silver sort of investment rabbit hole, and hopefully it does end up sparking some extra demand. So I think this $2,000 check that is coming to a lot of people is going to be a very, very huge thing for, I guess not only just America, but also for the actual price of silver, as we could see a lot of demand start heading towards silver's way.